for me, the question I'm asking myself always is, does this feel real? Does this feel real? Does this feel real? And it's hard to write about a marriage without writing about sex.
I'm Nathan Maharaj. This is Kobo in Conversation. My guest is the novelist Rainbow Rowell. She's the author of books including Eleanor and Park, Fangirl, as well as the novel Slow Dance, which she and I discussed a couple years ago when it came out. Rainbow Rowell's new book is the novel Cherry Baby. It's about a woman named Cherish, who everybody calls Cherry, at a moment in her life when her marriage seems to have ended and she's figuring out what comes next. Rainbow Rowell, welcome back to Kobo.
Ah, thank you for having me. It's nice to be here, Nathan.
Oh, it's good to have you every time, Rainbow. Can you tell us a bit more about what's going on in Cherry's life when we meet her?
Okay, so Cherry's a railroad executive. I don't know if I find that interesting about her. So she's got kind of an important job for North America's largest railroad. And her ex-husband well, soon to be ex-husband, is someone who has created this very viral, famous comic strip. Like, imagine if Calvin and Hobbes came out now and it was mostly on the internet and it was also for adults. And it's this autobiographical comic. So he's been writing it since college. It's about his life. And that means that there's a character in this comic that everyone knows that looks just like Cherry because she's in his life, so she's in his comic. And as they're getting a divorce, his success is just, he's gone nuclear and he is making a movie out of this comic. So she is trying to negotiate being by herself for the first time, being alone in this big house that they bought together, taking care of his dog, which they got instead of having a baby. He's off in Hollywood, and everywhere she goes, there's gossip about the movie that he's making about the comic, which includes, again, a character named Baby, who is based on her. So she's haunted by Baby everywhere. And a factor in this is that Cherry is fat. And so her husband has created this character that looks so much like her that she can't leave the house without someone going, like, wait, are you Baby? And she has to reckon with the fact that this person who she was in love with and spent 10 years with created a caricature of her that has become a meme that is used to make fun of other fat women. Not always in a mean way. Sometimes it's like a meme can be neutral. It's used by everyone.
Mhm.
But she has to see herself, her likeness, her body everywhere all the time as this movie is coming out.
God, I want to ask about the representation of Baby because it's so interesting and it takes a while in the book before we really get to see Baby through Cherry's eyes.
Right.
And it is kind of shocking. There's kind of a grotesqueness to her reading of Baby as a character. Can you tell me about that representation? Like how
Right.
much is she up in her head or is that what's
Well, I
on the
feel like I don't want to tell you exactly the degree to how much she's in her head because
yeah.
it's plotty. But I will say, you know, even now, if you take even in 2026, if you take a picture, say you're taking a picture with your family and you show it to the woman who's in the photo, women tend to judge a photo by whether or not they look fat,
Mhm.
whether they sang it out loud or not. Like it's just how maybe the progress of 2026 is men do this now too. Um, but I think for a lot of people, looking fat is just looking bad. And
Mm.
if you are a fat person, you spend a lot of time trying not to look fat or trying to like stand in a way. Like there are Instagram influencers who exist just to show you how to stand to look less fat. Um, so everyone, as Americans, we're all trying to not look fat all the time. So if you are a fat person and someone draws a picture of you where you look fat, even if you are fat, she's thinking, you love me. Why would you have drawn me with two chins?
Yeah.
Why would you have drawn me with such big thighs if you love me so much? So it becomes like a painful part of their relationship that he has drawn her and she is fat. Now, she is fat, but it doesn't feel like a loving representation because in a loving representation, he would have thinned her down or made her cuter and so we, the audience, kind of can't quite see what Baby actually looks like because we're always in Cherry's head, and Cherry feels so shamed by it and so called out by it and so exposed by it.
One of the things that I thought of when we're with Cherry looking at Baby was I thought I was getting a sense of Tom's illustrative style, and I
Yeah.
was thinking of Robert Crumb,
Oh,
who
yeah.
who's like inherently everything's always grotesque in Robert Crumb, but that includes people he loves because that's
Right.
just his style incorporates a certain grotesqueness.
Well, right. And grotesque according to who? I mean, I think
Yeah,
like Robert Crumb was really like, I'm not an expert on him, but he was pretty open about what he was attracted to.
yeah,
And so maybe if we were all that open about what we were attracted to, everyone would think everyone else was grotesque. I don't, do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's hard
yeah,
for me to believe that we've all signed off on being attracted to the same thing. I will
yeah.
say Tom's style is a little bit more Disney than that. I think like I describe it as like, what if an is early Disney cartoonist and then who's the cartoonist who would always draw the wolf with the tongue coming out? I forget his name. And then also Berkeley Breathed, or
Hmm.
is it Breathed? So he's got a little bit more of a cartoony style, but he draws fat women. So she goes back looking through to see who else has he drawn through the years, and he's always drawing really buxom women. That's kind of his thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Cherry takes her appearance seriously. Like let's be
Right.
clear here. Though, she is fat and you describe
Right.
her as such, and she describes herself and the women of her
Right.
family as such. She loves clothes.
Yeah.
She is concerned with presentation. And she's good at it. She's like
Yeah. Yeah. She's pulling it off. Yeah.
she's pulling it off, right?
Right.
Tell me about that. That there we've just talked about how she's concerned with, it's that universal concern of not wanting to look fat.
Right.
But Cherry also, she knows she looks good. She's she's
Right.
she's not unaware of that. Tell me about that tension and getting that across in the character because it does come across and it's not an unresolved thing. It's perfectly well represented on the page,
Right.
but it does seem like a pretty artful thing to get across.
So one thing I had noticed is that I tend to write not thin women in my, I'm fat. And so I tend to write women who are not thin as main characters, usually different kinds of not thin or different body shapes. But I noticed that even when I don't make a very big deal out of that in a book, that reviewers or readers do make a big deal of it. Like I
Hmm.
can remember when I read Eleanor and Park, where her body size is relevant, but that got boiled down to like a fat girl and a Korean boy. People would say, "What's it about?" It's about a fat girl and a Korean boy, and I would think, well, that is some big generalizing happening on both sides there. But even when I just noticed that even when the women's bodies weren't part of the plot, it would get mentioned in reviews that they were plus size or that they were curvy or they were whatever. And I would think, wow, I don't feel like that's a big part of the story. What if
Hmm.
I wrote a book where a character actually did think about her body as much as a normal human being? Because normally you don't, if a character thought about their body as much as a human being thought, so it would just distract from the story. So I thought, what if I wrote a character where it is more realistic how much she thinks about her body? So I don't think Cherry, again, it is not as much as a human being, but she thinks about her body a lot. And I was trying to get at the fact that when you are fat, you can never get to forget about it. You
Hmm.
don't get 5 minutes where you're free of it. So I think there's a line in the book that says she thinks about it all the time. She thinks about it so much that she never thinks about it at all. Like it's
Hmm.
just never actively comes to her. It's more of this like, that's underneath her. How am I look? How do I appear? Are people taking me seriously? Are people looking at my husband and wondering why he's with me? Or are people comparing me to my sisters? Are people comparing to me my friends? This like are people comparing me to her college roommate because she does then encounter a guy who knew her back in college. So it's this constant thinking about it. But then she also is thinking about her whole life, and she's super functional. She's very good at her job. She's
Yeah.
a very charming person. She is her job is to be charming in a way. She's got to sell ideas. Works a lot in PR. And so she knows that she's effective, but she also knows that there's this thing about her that she can't let go of, and that everyone else is also clocking every time they think about her. Like when they see her, they might think, oh, she's beautiful. Oh, that's a great outfit. Oh, she's so smart. And they're also thinking, oh, she's fat. And she knows
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. One of the layers of that awareness. which I thought which was striking and a little bit sad, but also it rung true, was she has this sense of pecking order. And it's about the fatness.
Right.
It's you mentioned tangentially a moment ago, Russ, um,
Rest. Hmm.
from her past, who she might have gotten together with, but as she saw it, the pecking order of the world was that her thin friend kind of gets first dibs.
Right.
That if Cherry's not working hard, working her charm, and she knows how to charm, she's got it to a science,
Right.
that that nothing will like naturally gravitate. Like she exerts no gravitational field unless she's
Right.
actively exerting it. Um, but of course, as we get very early in the book, she's getting a second go at Russ, and she is
Hmm.
working her charm on him. Tell me about writing Russ a little bit, because this is a guy who he is quite smitten with Cherry, and it
Right.
seems he has been for some time. There's a lot about desire wrapped up in this book, and we
Right.
first kind of get it through Russ.
So Russ is someone who she met like at a bar when she was in college and had this immediate connection to him. She was out with her very, very pretty, thin roommate. And kind of through the whole night, she can't tell. She sort of thinks he likes her, but maybe he likes her roommate, but it kind of seems like he likes her. So they
Mm,
had this night where it seemed like he liked her and he ended up with the roommate. And then as he dates the roommate, this is all flashback. They continue to have this very electric relationship. And then she runs into him at the beginning of this book, Cherry Baby. And he's one of the only people in the world who knows nothing about her husband's comic.
mm.
He's very involved in politics. He's like kind of a policy nerd. He doesn't care about pop culture. So he comes to her like his knowledge of her is having had a crush on her in college and
Yeah.
seeing her again. They're both divorced. He's still really attracted to her. I think the thing that happens with Russ is something that fat women and men, maybe I can't speak, but there's a feeling sometimes where you know someone is attracted to you, but they're weighing whether they have like whether they are kind of socially strong enough or like could I date someone who is fat? I'm not sure. Like what would especially young men, I think
Hmm.
really want to impress their friends and they want to be dating someone who has value. Yeah, this is women too. Let me restate that this is young people. I mean, I can definitely remember being in junior high and high school, having a crush on someone and thinking, I can't talk about it because my friends don't think he's cute.
Yeah.
So I have to date someone who my friends think is cute because then I will have more value because he has more value. So when Russ meets Cherry, he's doing the math all the time. He's thinking, wow, I'm really into this girl, but oh, she's kind of a marshmallow. She's kind of puffy. She's kind of, what would my friends think? And so when she encounters him as an adult, he's been married to a beautiful, thin woman and it didn't go well.
Hmm.
And also he's lonely. And also he always liked her. And he's like, you know what? Maybe I am into her. And maybe I'm a man enough to handle this now. I can take this on.
Yeah, I mean, and she's also, as far as I can tell in the book, she's also objectively very attractive. Like,
Oh, she's written to be very pretty. Yeah, she's
yeah,
very
yeah,
pretty. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. She is conventionally attractive if you can wrap your brain around a fat person being conventionally attractive. Yeah.
We'll give the listener a moment to pause and exercise
Can
that.
they do it?
Can you do it? Dig down deep.
Right.
It's not lost on me that Cherry's size is not the only aspect of her body that's foregrounded in this book.
Oh,
Um,
really? Wait, what do you mean?
what I mean is, this is me dancing around. This is a sexy book, Rainbow.
Oh, it's a very sexy book.
This
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
very sexy book.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
This is sexier than Slow Dance, which had a lot of sex in it. Yeah,
this is where I'm going. Is
yeah,
like Slow Dance had moments where I was like, oh goodness.
yeah.
Um,
Oh my.
and whereas Cherry Baby is I mean there's the beds get used, they get put through their
They do.
paces.
Yes.
um
There's
you
sex right away, which surprises people
it
because
right.
books, romances especially, and I don't think this is a romance, but I think people are used to a certain build before a sex scene, and this book
Yeah,
does not give you that build. It kind of throws you into it.
yeah, well, so tell me about that decision to, I mean, that decision of bringing sex in at the beginning, which feels like very much a literary device to tell the reader this is going to be about sex, this is going to
Right.
be about bodies, this is going to be about desire.
Right.
um but also then to have that to be so much a part of it. It is a departure. Writers complain all the time about how hard it is to write sex. Um, what was that like for you, making that decision that this was going to be the tone of this book?
I think because, sometimes people say, well, act like people are talking to me about this all the time, but sometimes they are. Um, like why now? And it's like, well, I largely write about people at the beginning of relationships. So in my other
Hmm.
books, it's often about someone falling in love or young people falling in love. Sex is not as much part of the story yet. I realized at the end of the Simon Snow books that they'd gotten a point to the relationship where I needed to talk about sex. And then in this book, this is a marriage. I think it's for me, I write really grounded books. I write very realistic books. For me, I'm always like the question I'm asking myself always is, does this feel real? Does this feel real? Does this feel real? And it's hard to write about a marriage without writing about sex.
Hmm.
It's also hard because your relationship doesn't just take place, outside of your bedroom. So much of your relationship is inside of your bedroom, and in so much of the intimacy is that when you're in sexual situations or scenarios. And then I I also am writing about bodies, and so it just became like, how do I even tell this story? How would I tell this story if I didn't show what sex was like for her and what sex was like with her husband? Because one of the questions of the book is, does he actually want her? Does he actually love her?
Hmm.
Does she believe that he wants her and loves her?
Yeah.
So seeing what they were like, I don't know, it just feels like I needed it.
Yeah.
That if I were to leave it out, I would be keeping the reader from seeing a really true part of this relationship and a really true part of who she is. So much of her worry is about desirability, and yet honestly, I think sex is a place where she's the least worried. Like she's
Mhm.
worried about being sexually desirable, and then inside the bedroom, she's really not.
Yeah,
Because
there's a
once she's there,
gate.
she knows she's like, actually, this is like I'm leading into my strengths here. So she's kind of fine there.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's so interesting too, because that made that made for such an interesting tension because she is such a confident person
Right.
in her professional life and day to day. Um, and then she's confident in the bedroom.
Right.
And there is just this little gauntlet she has to run, and it really is about desirability. And I love what you said. It's because it is two pieces. It's not it's not does he want me? Because that's one thing. There's
Hmm.
the other piece is does he make me believe he wants me?
Right.
Because it's not enough for him just to want her. She has to also feel it. She has to feel that he's able to express it, to externalize it.
And what is he telling about the world about me, and what does it mean? Like he's one way with me at home, in bed, in the kitchen, and then he's telling the whole world a story about me with his artwork.
Yeah.
And how much of that is even my business, what he tells the world? Like if I'm married to an artist, should I concern myself with the way he is in the house, or should I concern myself with his art?
Yeah. That's so I this is so funny. As you answered that, you were thinking about Tom. As I asked it, I was thinking about Russ.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, okay.
right? Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
that's
I was
fine.
with the
That
husband, not
right,
the
you were
boyfriend.
I was with the boyfriend. I was with because I
Yeah.
was
Well, I don't blame you. He's very charming.
he's charming and he's part of that early the early sexy stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but let's talk about Tom because when we meet him in this book, he's not in a good place.
No. Mm-mm.
We have a tough time seeing what's attractive about him. He seems absent. He's physically he's not
Right.
around.
He went to Hollywood to make this movie, and he has not been back in a year.
Yeah. And so he's back to like clean up, but with
Pack up his stuff.
not a lot of energy, not a lot of order. This is not a mission. He's not striking this like a Navy SEAL. It's more like an
No.
actual SEAL. Um,
Right. He comes up to pack and he just moves things around, puts things in boxes, takes them out.
yeah.
You just get the feeling that this is a guy who can't get anything done without her.
Well, I was going to say he shows up and it seems like his primary objective is to line up a bunch of decisions he'd like her to make about their
Right.
stuff.
Right. Right. Can I take this? Can I take this? Do you want me to do this? What about this? And she's like, I don't care about any of it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's so funny though is so we get this rich texture of like Tom is this problem. Tom is this
Right,
weight on her. At the same time, he's also like, financially she stands to gain a great deal from his good fortune
right,
and so Tom is multiple things. But we get flashbacks, and in the flashbacks, Tom is smooth. Tom is confident. He
right.
he's so suave. I thought there was like, are we doing a Wuthering Heights thing where like there's another guy named Tom and this isn't the same
Mm.
guy? Like, tell me about telling the story in this way where we get the vulnerable, broken Tom, uh,
Right.
and then we get the Tom that Cherry fell in love with.
Well, I should say this is a book that is a trick. This book tricks you a lot and intentionally. And the more we talk about it, I do feel like, in a way, it's best to read this. The best way to read this book is just to read it and to go in cold. But if you're the sort of person who doesn't ever go in cold, you should keep listening to us. Because the book is set up at the beginning and you think you're going to get something like a second chance romance, which is, two people get another, reunite from the past and we get to see them come together. And you get Russ and Cherry coming together in a very classic second chance romancy way.
Yeah.
And then the book quickly, I hope, communicates to you that it doesn't want to be a romance and it doesn't actually want to talk about second chances, or at least maybe it wants to talk about profound third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances and who really deserves a second chance and what does that even mean. Because what we get is we get Cherry's view of the world always. It's very deep POV. I don't rise up out of the character at all. I'm very deep in her. So you are always getting her very biased view of herself, of her world, of her family, of Tom, her husband, of Russ, this new guy. He's ruined her life. And she feels like he's kind of slow motion ruined her life because first he started writing this comic, then the comic got very, very popular. Then he abandoned her to pursue success. And so he's everything that's gone wrong with her life. And so when he comes back, we see him through her eyes that way. But, we also know that Cherry is not an idiot. And we also know that Cherry makes really good decisions. So how did she end up with such a loser, right? If
Mm.
she's very discerning, has great taste, that's the other thing we've already learned about her within a chapter. She sees the way other people see her. She's very sharp in observing people. She makes really sharp, good decisions. So what did she do? Is Tom the worst decision she's ever made? Or is it possible that maybe Tom was a good decision? What made Tom a good decision when she met him? And how did he become a bad decision? Or how did that fall apart? So, right. So we see him at the worst, and you are not meant to like him as a reader. You're meant to be like, get this guy out of here. And then the book starts to mess with you, I hope.
Yeah, and it certainly did, and and I will co-sign your recommendation to go in cold because I did everything I could to just not know anything about this book.
Yeah.
I just picked it up and went and also I am not a genre romance reader, so I don't so the tropes miss me. Like I'm aware that there exist because I am
Right.
a capable bookseller who knows that things exist, but like
Sure.
um but I don't know them. I don't have a subtle sense of these things. So
Right.
yeah, I was,
This book does a little bit
yeah.
of what my Simon Snow series does, where
Hmm.
in the first carry on, it checks off a bunch of genre things. So it says like, this is Simon Snow, and he is an orphan, and he's magical, and he's going back to magic school, and oh no, things have gotten very bad. But fortunately, he has a trusty sidekick, and he has a girl who he likes, and it tells you click, 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 click. And then the rest of the series is like, well, okay, what if we pulled that thread? And what if we took a left turn there? And what if that wasn't? So I like thinking about genre and then picking it apart or twisting it or like pushing at it. So this book in the first chapter, I think, is like, well, this could be a second chance romance. If it could be, like it could be very tropey, but let's go somewhere else with it. I'm just trying to like take your expectations and hopefully twist them and go somewhere else.
It sounds to me like what's interesting to you, I mean, maybe to hew to the conventions of genre romance is kind of like it's kind of like an Olympic gymnastics routine. Like you've got there's you know what the judges are looking for, and you do have to stick the landing. And there is beauty and there is mastery throughout that. But but that's all. But it also means that there are restrictions on what you can and cannot do.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
Right? You mustn't swerve that way because now you're not doing the thing right anymore.
Right.
It sounds to me like that's just that the swerve is irresistible to you. At least one or two swerves.
Yeah, I think I'm a very antagonistic writer. Like I think that when people ask what inspires you, I think that I almost never look at something and go, "Oh, I want to do that." I almost always look at something and go, "What if you did that differently?" Or what if
Mm,
that had gone very different? And even my first book, Attachments, I had watched a certain kind of movie and I kept thinking, what if that was different? What if instead of them falling in love in this way, almost always I want to make things more awkward and more difficult. So
mm,
I tend to like in every genre think, well, how can I make that feel? Even when my comic book work, I like to think like, okay, well, a normal comic book story, normal in quotes, might go like this. What would happen if we took it someplace different? Because I think it's exciting for me to go someplace different.
yeah. Well, it's this. I mean, it's one of the reasons I enjoy your books
Oh,
is
thank you.
because I don't. One of the I think we've talked about this before, and I hate to retread, but like one of the things I don't love about genres where plot is prescribed, where things have to resolve,
Mm-hmm.
is I don't want resolution. Like if I don't want to know it's going to work out. I want to know
Mm-hmm.
I want to know we don't have a safety net. Um,
Right. To me, it almost doesn't. What's the point in watching if you or reading if you know? For me personally, if I know what's
yeah.
going to happen, I disengage a little bit. So
Mhm.
the stakes go away for me personally.
Yeah,
Other
yeah,
people are
same.
the opposite.
Right. No, no, for sure, because there is something magical about seeing like it's a magic trick, and like they're gonna, these two protagonists must end up together. How the hell are
Hmm.
they gonna get there? That's an interesting thing to some readers. To
Right.
me, it's more like the emotional truth of their journey that may lead to them having to not be together because that may be the right thing for them.
My favorite thing is when there is a happy ending, but I don't feel assured of it at all. Like where
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can trust it. I can't trust it. And then when it arrives like a gift. I'm like, oh, thank God. But I didn't, I don't want to, I don't want to know it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like talking about like a happy ending where like they're holding hands and you're like, oh, they are breaking up before
Oh,
morning.
no,
They
no.
are.
No, I love it when things go well. I just don't want to, I don't want to feel assured of it. And I love
Right.
it when something can make me feel like, oh, I'm not sure this is going to work out.
Yeah, no, same. That's often how I describe when I tell someone I'm a fan of your work, I often describe it as like it's kind of like romance books, except like might not work out.
Yeah, sometimes it
And
doesn't.
it might have sometimes, and I think she believes it all the way through that it doesn't need to work out. So we're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna push that tension. Were
My
there
husband doesn't trust me at all because of Eleanor and Park, because he thinks Eleanor and Park is a terrible ending. And so when I am writing something happy and I'm like, no, it's going to work out, and he'll be like, oh, right, yeah, sure. Your version of working out is not my feeling.
I wanted to ask you, is there like your this antagonism, as you describe yourself as
Yeah.
an antagonistic writer? Is that something you grew up with? Like were you drawn to books that upset your expectations, or were you drawn to books that set up a thing that you felt you could like tip over?
No, I don't know if it affects my reading. Like I think, as a young person, I just wanted to read anything good, and I read very widely, and I didn't go looking for a certain kind of thing. If I heard something was good, if I'd heard of it, I picked it up and just gave it a try. So I didn't necessarily even have like a pattern to what I read as a young person. I would just read anything. And there was not the same culture of reading. Like, it's not like I was following a book talker or
Mm,
talking to people about books really other
yeah.
at all. I was just going to the library, going to their shop, buying books, digesting them and then moving on. I think that antagonism, I think I'm someone who likes to take things apart.
Mm,
And I think that makes me a frustrating human being to be friends with or to be married to sometimes. It made me a pretty good reporter when I was a reporter.
mhm.
If you say something to me, I'm gonna pick it apart in my head. Sorry. Like I'm gonna be like, well, is that true? Or oh yeah, maybe. I just like it's interesting because I have two kids and one of my kids, we come out of a movie and he just is like, I don't want any of you to say anything.
Mm,
Just say that you liked the movie and that's all I want to hear from you. And then I have another kid who immediately wants to start just picking it apart. And so these family conversations will be me and one of the kid going, pick, 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 tear, tear, tear. And then the other kid will say, I thought it was good. And then my critical kid and I will say, oh, yeah, no, we liked it too. What do you mean you liked it? You've been complaining about it for an hour. I think that I just like to take things apart.
Yeah.
And I think as a writer, I'm bored a lot, right? So I'm by myself. I don't get to work with people. And I keep myself interested in like, well, what if we mess this up more? What if we turn this upside down? I write books that have like narrative trickiness. Um, and I think that's because it keeps me engaged. Oh, I wonder if I can do this. Can I pull this off? Can I write a book that's all emails? Or can I write a book where half of it is taking place in the past? Like,
Will you find when you're working on an early draft that you've you've aligned yourself to a convention that you'd rather upset, that you want to do a major revision because you're like, oh, this isn't, I'm bored. You've bored yourself. Do you ever do that?
no, it's much more likely that I bite off way more than I can chew at the beginning. So I always start with like in this book, I knew that it was going to have, these are spoilers now. It has kind of two climaxes. It's a book that instead of looking like one hill, looks like two hills, which is not how books are supposed to work or how Western storytelling is supposed to work. So the whole challenge the whole time for me was can I make you feel like you've been brought up to the climax of the book and then drop you a little bit and make you like a roller coaster with two peaks? Or will I lose you after the first one? Or will you feel like so I knew what I wanted to do, that I wanted it to have kind of a false front and then turn into a different book. And then I just constantly doubted whether I was pulling that off. And then I tweaked the editing was about a lot of the editing was about tweaking the second half of the book to make it feel like as rewarding as the first half.
That's so interesting you describe it that way because that was absolutely my experience of reading it
Okay.
was I getting to that peak and I'm reading it and I'm like, but I'm only like halfway through this book.
Yeah.
This doesn't how is this going to work out? And then the whole thing shifts and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess we're back to
Am I still here for it?
I mean I was here for it. And look, I was here for it because I was there for Cherry.
Right. Right.
I just wanted to like, okay, Cherry, what have you done?
Right.
Like what are we going to do with the rest of this book, Cherry? Because you've made some decisions that you're either going to have to walk back or you're going to have to walk somewhere else. But walking is required because
Right.
we can't stay here.
Right. That's exactly how it happens. Yeah, you're right. I felt very happy that it landed that way.
I mean, I am a not very intelligent reader when it comes to plot. Voice I'm great at, plot I'm not good. So, but no, I'm gonna stick by it. It kept me going. It kept me turning pages. Um,
It's funny when I had friends read it because they'd be a third of the way through and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I love it," and I'd think, "Okay, we'll see if
what
you love it."
what chapter are you on?
Yeah. I hate this guy. I love this guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah,
and even I hope too that like midway through you realize it's not going to be a book about just who does she pick. Like it's
yeah.
as much as I'm a huge Twilight fan, it's not and honestly, I don't think that Twilight is just strictly Team Jacob, Team Edward either. But that's not you really have to be there for Cherry
Yeah.
and to go wherever she goes because yeah, it's all about her.
Now, you mentioned, it's 2026. You got to write a book that takes place in 2026, and GLP-1s show up here,
Right. Right, right, right.
which is very 2026, and it shows up in an interesting way because it's a disruptive force in Cherry's family. Tell me about the GLP-1s in this book.
Right. So I told you that when I started the book, one of the things I was thinking about is how people will notice that a character is fat, even if the book doesn't care about the character being fat. So what if I wrote a book that did care about a character being fat?
Yeah.
And then another factor for me was that I was very early to knowing about GLP-1s. Like I'm the person for the last 2 or 3 years who's been telling everyone I know. Like I've personally been the reason, like I think like 5 people now have started GLP-1s because I just knew about them early. I read about them. I talked to a doctor about them. I went and talked to an endocrinologist about them. Like I really was on it. I read a lot of news.
Hmm.
So I was just kind of obsessed with them, talking about them all the time. And I felt like everyone I was talking to, it's funny now because we all know about them, but just even 2 years ago, Many people did not know about them. So I'd become like kind of a Cassandra. Like, no, we're all going to be on them. Everyone's going to be on them. Fat people are going to go away. Only poor fat people will exist. There will be no more fat celebrities. There, like I was very like I was predicting the future and getting passionate about it because it felt like such a huge shift. And I think we are now in the middle of that shift. I mean, like not to say that I was right, but yeah, no, I was right. And so I wrote this book at a time when some of that still seemed silly. Like there's a line in the book about they can't find an actress to play Cherry in the movie because there are no more skinny actresses left in Hollywood.
There are no more
And
fat actresses left.
oh, sorry, thank you. That's right. There are no more fat. Right. Woo, that's a world. There are no more fat actresses left in Hollywood in the book. And when I wrote that, that was not true. There are still a couple. And now they're vanished. Like they're really, it would be difficult. It would be difficult to make a movie. There were only a few ever. And any celebrity who was even chubby, again, I'm generalizing, but many of them are no longer chubby. Many of them are very thin. And if you look in your life, like you probably there are very few doctors who are overweight now. There are very if you get on an airplane in first class, there are going to be fewer people who are overweight. And I've watched that like at first it was just like the people in my world who had a lot of money, and now it's just almost everyone. I think 4 or 5 people in my family have gone on GLP-1s and since I started writing this book. And so I had all of that in my head and I was, like I said, obsessed with it. In fact, there was one period where I was so overwrought, like with trying to make a decision about myself. And I said, I can't think about this for 6 months. So I'm going to give myself 6 months where I don't think or talk about this. And in that 6 months is when I wrote the book. So my brain needed to go somewhere with all of this GLP-1 stuff. Um, and where that goes in the book is Cherry has made peace with her body, sort of. She's made as much peace as she can. And so here she is as a fat person who has made peace with herself. And now the question of fatness is unsettled.
Mm-hmm.
Is why is she fat now? She doesn't have to be. She could go on a GLP-1. Her husband is rich. Um, Anyone will give her this prescription. Is she fat by choice now? Like, what is that? Who is fat by choice?
Mm. I will tag onto that. I will say for the listener, GLP-1s, that's Ozempic. That's that whole class of like
Right,
pharmaceuticals
right, right.
about
GLP-1 agonists.
GLP. See, this is obviously the footnotes are here. Rainbow's done the research. So a thing that fascinates me as a Canadian
Oh, okay.
about your people, the Americans, is among your traditions and customs is how Americans celebrate not only a much later Thanksgiving than we Canadians do,
Oh,
um, but also it's so much bigger. It's a much bigger deal
yeah.
for Canadians. Thanksgiving is nice. Like we'll take a long weekend, but like it's
Yeah.
it's not huge. For Americans, it seems much bigger, and it's also. And this is the thing that really gets me is not only is Thanksgiving big, but so is Christmas. And
Yeah. Wham bam.
it's like literally days later, like a few
Right.
weeks.
It's the best month ever.
It's insane.
Hmm.
This book makes wonderful use of this deeply American 1-2 holiday
Oh,
beat,
thank you.
right?
Hmm.
What did you set out to write a book where you were like, oh, we are going to have a thing. We're going to have 2 family dinners, and there's going to be one, and there's going to be the other, and the contrast will be so delicious.
I didn't set out that, way, but I tend to write about holidays a lot. Uh, I read I read once. I think it was who is the author who did the series about twins, Pascal, Sweet Valley High, Sweet Valley High.
Sweet Valley High.
I think I heard a radio interview with her once, and she was saying that like every great teen story ends with prom,
Hmm.
and I thought a lot about that. That like having rituals in a book, having traditions in a book. I like giving characters a chance to like seeing how they react to that ritual and seeing what a ritual means to them. And you get a lot of pomp and circumstance in a holiday. You get a lot of like if you were making a movie, it makes for a great set. You have great food, you have great clothes, you've got, snow or leaves or
Yeah.
music. And it taps into something in the reader that they already bring their own feeling to. So it's a little bit of a cheat to do something at Thanksgiving or Christmas because it's already heightened for the reader, for the American reader. Uh, so I have written a lot of holiday scenes and books. In this book, it's very effective for me because you do get to see Cherry's family then. You get to see how she is around her family. And you get to see her in this heightened environment having to make some big decisions and fall on her face a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, you get to write about food then, and I love holiday food. It's like when people put on their best clothes, they make their best dishes. You know, a lot of families, you mentioned Thanksgiving. I think of Thanksgiving as more of a food holiday than Christmas. Christmas has foods that you kind of have to have, whereas I don't know, as I say that, I'm interrogating it. Maybe I just think of Thanksgiving as being more of a food holiday. And
Mm.
so people will make their most laborious, hard recipes on Thanksgiving. It's like a once a year thing. So you really get to see what are families' favorite things and what do they work the hardest for.
There's also the compare and contrast, and then the reveal. Also, if you enter someone's family and like the thing you worked hard on, or the way my family did it, you show up and like for all of your masking and coping and adapting, you show up with that marshmallow thing or whatever, and it's like and now they really know who you are and like who your
They're so
people are.
judgmental. People are so
They're
judgmental.
so judgmental. It's terrible, but
It
it
is
is.
terrible.
I just like food. I think this is why I'm not on GLP-1s. Um, I love food too much. Um, the nature of Tom and Cherry. I just realized it sounds like Tom and Jerry. This is
It
coming.
does, I know. I almost changed it for that reason. And then by that time I was so attached to the character names I didn't do it.
Well, so their marriage is interesting to me because Tom is this wildly successful artist,
Hmm.
and Cherry has a day job. She is a creative
Hmm.
person too, but the fact is she is a professional and she's the
Yes.
day job, and he's the like flightier
Yeah.
one. It's not lost on me that you are a successful creative artist.
Right.
Tell me about writing that perspective where you have some experience of these factors in a relationship, but like landing your main character on this end of it and having this other character picking up the other side.
Um, One of the less sexy themes in the book is about art and how to be in a relationship with an artist and who owns the story and who gets to tell the story. So Cherry decides very early on in the relationship that she cannot control Tom's art, that would be like trying to control his dreams. Like she says,
Mhm.
I'm not an, they meet as young artists and she quickly gets more of a desk job. But they're both artists when they meet.
Mhm.
He's the more talented artist and he then is the more successful artist. And she says, like, I'm enough of an artist to know that I can't control his art. So he has to have this. It's like breathing for him. And because of that, when he draws her and he makes her a part of the art, she decides really early on to separate things. Like, this is, I can't look at Baby, the character, and see myself. I have to let him just take Baby and do what he needs to do with her. And I need to stay Cherry in our life and let him have Baby in his art. And I think it's smart and mature of her to make that decision. But then because she's like, okay, I'm going to just cut myself off from his art. I'm not even going to read his comic. Then when his art becomes more and more a part of his life, she's cut off from it. And it's like the part of his life that she's refusing to touch gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mhm.
So it's been interesting as I have people read the book, you know, starting with my friends, and they get very mad at Tom. Like he is exploiting her. He is fetishizing her. He is using her. You know, how dare he use her in his books and his comics? And they will say this to me. And I'll think, I'm doing this all the time. I'm doing this 24/7. Like, there's no way that I can write a book about a relationship without completely contaminating it with my husband. Like, I've been with him for too long. He's too much a part of me. I can't make art without making art about him. Honestly, I can't make art without making art about my kids. I try to really distance them, but they show up anyway. You just can't. There's no clean way to make art and protect the people around you. And so it's funny to me that even my closest friends have read this book and gotten mad at Tom and yelled at me about it. And I think, don't you see that I'm the Tom here? Like, I'm the Tom. I'm trying to reckon with the fact that I feel that I'm exploiting my husband, like that I keep putting him in books and I feel bad about it. I so it's definitely I'm sympathizing with Tom, but I feel like I'm doing a good job of expressing Cherry's anger because even the people closest to me aren't recognizing that I'm the Tom.
Hmm. I have a question about your family because you thank your family at the end of this book.
Oh yeah.
And you say there are problems that get solved around the dinner table. And I want to know what kinds of problems um, do you bring to the dinner table that the family works on?
Oh yeah, all kinds. So when I had young kids, I read some parenting tip that said don't ask your kids what they did. Like the normal thing is like, oh, how was school? What happened? What'd you do? That you should start by saying what you did. So then it becomes this practice of we all talk about our days, not just you're not being interrogated, but it's like an opportunity where we all are going to talk. So that was a good tip. And we've done that since they were little. We sit down, usually I start, this is what I did. And well, what I've done all day is right or
Yeah.
tried to work something out. And I think I've already mentioned how like I make problems for myself when I'm writing. So usually I make a problem for myself and then I spend 6 months trying to solve it and I'm talking about it at the dinner table. And as my kids have grown up, they have gotten sharper. And they're both sharp anyway, but they've gotten sharp about the sort of problems that I have and what I'm trying to solve and storytelling. And they have opinions. And so they'll really take it on, which I appreciate because sometimes when you share a problem with someone, they're just nodding along and they're waiting to it's their turn to talk.
Mhm.
But both of my kids are good at really listening to what I'm saying, and then thinking it through and they'll share their opinion or, they'll tell me if they think I have one who's a little bit more like, I have one who's a little bit more interested in the business of it all. Like, wait, tell me what your agent said or tell me what that editor said. And he'll have like a take on that. And then I have one who has like just more sharp story observations. So like when I was writing, I wrote a short story called I think it's called The Prince and the Troll. I forget what it's called. And I was like, the world was going to end at the end. And then these two characters weren't going to kiss. And my like 14 or 15-year-old said, like, you can't have both. The world can end. If the world ends, they have to kiss. Like, you can't make everything bad all the time.
Yeah. You can't deprive the reader of the kiss and all of existence. You can
Exactly. He
deprive
was
them
like,
of
you can only
one.
have one. And I thought that was great. That was great advice that I keep
Yeah.
thinking. I think about every time when I get to the end of a book. Like, if the world ends, they still have to kiss. Like, you have to give the reader something. So anyway, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's an example of a time when they have,
Yeah.
yeah, they weigh in. And then my other one, I feel like could be an agent. I feel like his advice is like much like, get yourself out of this. You're thinking about it too hard. If you said yes for the money, then just take the money and leave your heart out of it. Like he gives me advice like that.
I waving a cigar at you, I'm sure. And just,
Yeah, it's that vibe. Yeah.
okay. Well, this has been fun. Rainbow, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This really, it's like honestly a dream come true to get to talk to a smart person about my book. Like, oh, I've read your book really carefully. Now I want to talk about it. Okay.
I have been speaking with Rainbow Rowell, author of the new book, Cherry Baby. Find all of her books. You should read them all. I have. They're great. At Kobo and Conversations home on the web, kobo.com/conversation. There's a link in the show notes. If you enjoyed this one, you should follow the show, and it would be the cherry on top of my sundae if you drop a 5-star rating on us. See what I did there? Kobo and Conversation was produced and hosted this time by me, Nathan Maharaj. Thank you for listening.
Nathan, have you noticed that I don't think I have sworn at all this episode? Have
Oh,
I?
no, you haven't.
I know. Look at who has some self-control now,
Look
huh?
who's growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before I didn't try. And the question, the backstory here is that I swore a lot last time.
You actually set a record.
Yeah.
Earlier that year, Kylie Reed set the record, and then you smashed it like with Olympian force.
And I was alarmed by that because I was just a little alarmed by it because I think that swearing has gotten too easy for everyone all the time.
Hmm.
And I thought, normally I have a good filter. What happened to my filter? Am I losing my filter? Is this early onset dementia? Like, what is happening? And I think it's just that I felt too comfortable.
Okay, so you're in a roundabout way, you're blaming me for the cussing.
No,
Well,
no, that's like, wow, that's
I'm
you
kidding.
projecting.
It's a
That was a
compliment. I'm
compliment.
taking it. I'm taking it as a
It was
compliment.
a compliment. But this was a test of my filter. I was like, can I just click the filter back on and like not subject your listeners to 4,000 F words?
It was an even six, I think. But
That's
yes,
still a lot. That's
that's
still
it
a
was.
lot.
Yeah, it was a yeah. I learned how to use that feature in the editing software.
Parental advisory version.